Good morning, gamers. Max and Tyler back again with another amazing and stupendous set review. Uh, Always to start off with, if you want any of these cards for your domicile, be sure to come down to Mega Games to purchase them in whatever capacity you can. I don't think we do Venmo, but we could. Uh, so to start us off, Tyler, how you feeling about this set?
It's looking a lot better than Spider-Man,
For sure.
but maybe a low bar. Got some interesting cards, some interesting mechanics
Yeah, I did a tournament this last Sunday. They didn't fire a single draft.
of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my plan B, which is usually, uh, do terrible in modern, drop, go play draft. I couldn't do it, so that was
So you
fun.
had to win.
I wish that's how it works.
Forced to win games in
Uh,
modern.
but anyways,
What does this
on
world come to?
we're on to greener pastures. There we go.
We have cards that will lower your win rate in modern for you to
Dude.
put in your deck.
That's everyone's favorite kind of card. We should be having a pre-release this weekend if I get it out in time. I don't know though. We'll see. Uh, all right. So to start us off, we have the set review breakdown, as everyone's so familiar with. We got card cycles. We have actually three this set. Count them, three.
1, 2, 3.
You did it. High interest, medium interest, low interest, cards with potential, and then personal pickups. Um, you can infer what that means from each one. We'll talk about it more when we get to the cards. All right, to start us off, we have the Saga Enchantment Avatar cycle, I guess. Call it. Most of these kind of meh. I think the most playable one would be like the blue one. I saw some people talk about it. So for two blue, the Legend of Kurik. Step 1 and 2, scry 2, then draw a card. Then step 3 is you flip it, becomes a 4/3. Whenever you cast a spell, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with. This token can't be blocked or be blocked by non-spirit creatures. And then exhaust, which is a mechanic coming back. So you only do it once per card, essentially. Waterbend 20.
Or 20?
Yeah, Waterbend 20, which is you can tap creatures and artifacts to pay for that cost. Only take an extra turn after this one. So front side's meh. You're seeing essentially four cards. You're seeing about three cards in total of card advantage. But with all that kind of fill up, you can try to storm off, create a bunch of tokens, hit that 20 mark, tap them all down, get an extra turn, and swing in for lethal, which is kind of the thought process behind that card. I feel.
Yeah, I think all these cards just strike me as too expensive to be doing much, which I feel like is a problem a lot of sagas run into. Lots of cool stuff if you're trying to build that just flavorful, like, I love Avatar deck, which I'm sure will be a lot of fun for plenty of people. Um, I mean, taking extra turns always good, but all the steps to get there, you could probably just win the game normally.
Yeah, I mean it's just in the age of Shieldred from Dominaria United, seeing a 4 mana card that draws you two cards and then flips into something else is kind of.
I mean, Sholodred's not in standard anymore.
Thank God for that.
But I mean, you do have Enduring Curiosity on the same cost,
Yeah,
which is going to draw you a ton of cards immediately. Be hard to interact with. Has flash.
Yeah, I've never. You've never seen a pitch saga, which would be kind of cool. Probably haven't seen that in a design space.
That's not true.
You've seen a pitch saga?
You're the first cycle. Oh no, not saga. It's just an enchantment, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking it's just the white one's just an enchantment.
Yeah.
It's just an enchantment anthem.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Not an actual saga. Yeah.
Anyways, away from our speculation, we have another land cycle.
A lot better than what we have been seeing.
Yeah. I think out of all these ones, we'll see, I think the white one and the green one see the most play. White one is just, if you're playing a white weenie stack, It's 5 mana, put a counter on each creature. So if you're playing, go wide board and you have enough creatures to make that worthwhile, you'll probably do it. Doesn't, take that much to make it playable.
Yeah, you can put it in your like mono white humans deck that go pretty wide, and then it's just a mana sink if you have nothing else going on.
Yeah, it's instant speed too, which is notable.
Yeah, or like sometimes you'll just be in a position where maybe you could cast some creatures, but you could also just add 5 power, which is enough to maybe make something lethal, or maybe just attack through blockers more effectively.
Yeah, I mean it'll be good in draft for sure. Same with the blue one. It's 4 mana, draw a card and discard a card. If you're playing a control matchup, that's nice to have, of just being able to cycle through your non-usable cards so you hit something.
Or even like could maybe play it in some of your like Unearth or Reanimator decks or something like that, where it's just something that's always there. If you're heavy enough in blue, that it's kind of free to include with extra upside.
Yeah, Bossing Say is probably the most playable out of the 5. The 4 mana Earthbend 2 is a pretty good rate. Turning one of your lands into a 2/2 creature that when it dies or is exiled, which is pretty notable, just comes back. So, if you're that way, you can go, your fetch lands, your land destruction cards, if you do play those, like Ghost Court or stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been seeing, I think people in Legacy were talking about this card with obviously your Wasteland, where, 2 generic mana is somewhat more trivial in Legacy with your like soul lands and whatnot.
We do have the land from Ixalan where it gives you 2 mana, or is it 3 mana for activated abilities?
Oh yeah. Sunken Citadel gives you 2 mana for land activated abilities. So even outside of
so like turn
your Legacy.
Yeah, turn 3 Bossing Say you can get it online, which isn't too hard to ask for.
And like something that earthbending, like land dies, it comes back as just a non-creature land again. People have been talking a lot about Urza Saga. It's going to die on its own. This also means like if your opponent wants to blow it up, it's just going to come right back. So that could be an interesting way to loop your Saga, get extra value. And both cards, like Bossing Say and Saga, like playing cards like Sunken Citadel, right? Yeah. So there could be something there where you're kind of bumbling together, one of these kind of Jund Saga-y kind of style decks.
Next we have the Fire Nation Palace. So 2 and a tap, target creature control gets Firebending 4. So whenever this creature attacks, you add 4 red. You lose at the end of combat. So this is mainly like instant speed mana. But if you have, additional combat steps, this can get kind of crazy. Or just, if you're looking for 4 mana specifically for like an instant you want to play, this isn't too bad. But you need a creature. This needs to come in untapped. If you think of turn 3, if you play it, creature doesn't die. So you're looking at like 3 kind of hurdles to get across. So it's not that good. And it's also it's 4 mana during combat, so you're very limited in what you do. Yeah,
you have to find something that times out well with it. But it is a ritual out of your land. It functionally is making you an extra 2 mana.
And then we have the Realm of Ko, which is added to the long list of overpriced make a creature black land.
You have a lot of good utility lands available to you in formats like Pioneer. Modern doesn't really have the room in the mana bases nor the slowness for them to really be all that relevant. But in Pioneer and Standard, lands like these will pop up. Some of these are definitely a lot better than others.
Yeah, the one from Tarkir, I think, is a little bit better. I mean, you do get to exile a creature from your graveyard, but I think it's like 1 or 2 mana cheaper.
Or you have what's the Bloomburrow colorless one, the Fountain?
Oh yeah, it's not Mistful Village. Fountain Port.
Yeah, like Fountain Port. Obviously, it's colorless, but is kind of one of the best of these that utility lands we've seen. But even if you need it to be a colored source, all these lands get a lot better. Realm of Ko is like almost close, but like the second you get into Pioneer, you have like Hive of the Eye Tyrant and Castle Loch Dwayne and things like these that are a lot better to be spending your time with.
Yeah, well, this will be added to the long list of unusable black lands. Next we have a almost a full cycle. We have the bending ascension lines. First off, we have airbending ascension, one and a white. When this enters, airbend up to one target creature. Airbending is you exile the named thing, then you can play it back for 2 mana, in disregarding its original cost. Whenever a creature control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment, which we will be seeing that for all of these in their own specific way. And then if you have 4 more quest counters, up to you can exile up to one target creature control, return the battlefield under your control at the end of your turn. So this does start bouncing things on its own once you get that 4 creatures on the field, which isn't too bad. This is like one thing that makes something, then you can like exile it, bring it back.
Yeah, your tough thing is that like this is very sneakily like a 4 mana blink spell. Obviously you can split that up, which is nice. But the cost is going to be somewhat prohibitive, I think. That being said, you can also just kind of like a tempo exile your opponent's creature. They have to recast it.
Especially
and then your regular creatures entering will start ticking this up on their own.
And there's a lot of effects that just stop people from playing from exile. The main one is Triumph Magistrate, so if you just start airbending your opponent's creatures away, they just can't get them back.
Or even Disruptor, which has seen a little bit of play in like Blink decks in Modern,
and then,
or even I think in Standard and Pioneer.
The Wrathdigger's Cage creature, I forget what it's called.
Soulless Jailer?
Yeah, Soulless Jailer I think stops as well.
Right, so yeah, you would have options to make this like semi-permanent. Also, like, you don't want to necessarily blink this enchantment, but if you do, you can start airbending more things of your opponents, especially. Obviously, you're going to start losing your quest counters, so that might be a little bit.
Yeah,
there's tension there.
We also do have a lot of cards from Edge of Eternities, so warping them out, blinking them with Airbender, and then getting to cast them for 2 instead of their higher cost.
Yeah,
getting those double ATBs a lot sooner is also pretty nice. The most obvious one would be Riddler. But turn 3 can go the 3-drop one that works for 1, the legendary, I forget what her name is.
Oh sure, yeah.
And then
like gains life draws cards.
Yeah, then you airbend it away, then later you cast it for 2, yada yada yada. This is probably one of the more playable ones, I'd say, but I don't see a deck that would want to play it. It might be a little too slow for Modern. But I mean, if Riddler decks want to do super grindy things, this is probably not the
probably better option to pull from in Modern, but maybe in Pioneer we're making more room for these kinds of decks.
I don't think Pioneer has Ephemerate, does it? Perfect. They don't have Ephemerate. I know they for sure don't have Thalia, so this might be a better option.
Yeah. I don't
for
think
a Riddler like deck in Pioneer. Too bad that format doesn't exist. Next we have Earthbender Ascension for 2 and a green. When this enchantment enters, Earthbend 2, search your library for a basic land card, put on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. So keynote, you have to Earthbend before you search, which can be kind of annoying sometimes. Then it has Landfall. Whenever a land control enters, put a quest counter. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control against trample until end of turn. So worst case scenario, if you just keep playing your lands, so this is like 2 fetch lands. 1 you can already get from the Earthbender Ascension, so this is a turn 4 activation. You can get the Landfall, put a counter on something, which is pretty good. 3 mana is a little bit much for it. You do get a 2/2 creature out of it.
They are loving the like Landfall and ramp.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of Landfall. I think we've like almost every set has something that's Landfall specific.
Yeah, or just ramp in general for like these green decks. There's definitely been a lot there, which is interesting, and that's something to keep in mind on that there is already a lot of support for these cards. This card does do a lot, and I think like an easy thing to miss, like Fable of the Mirror Breaker the first time it came around. People went, well, each of these things individually for 3 mana, kind of slow, it's kind of dirtily, it's not all that good. But when you throw all of these things on that are all happening at the same time, maybe over a couple turns, it does get a lot better. This ramps you while putting a creature into play, which means it's not going to be a complete do-nothing like ramp spell, which is kind of where 3 mana ramp spells are like struggle at. Like it does put something into play, at least to like
Yeah.
contest the board. And for those landfall decks, they're not going to have a hard time getting 3 more counters on this.
And then we can see a lot of good landfall things from Edge of Eternities. So this might see play. It's a lot of value. Even if it does get destroyed, it does essentially replace itself with a fetch and a 2/2 that when it dies does come back as a land.
And there is a pretty powerful ramp spell that I don't know if we're going to get to later. But
It should be in here. But we'll have to see. Next one, Firebender Ascension, 1 in a red. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. Once again, Firebending is on attack, make 1 mana, goes away at the end of combat. Whenever a creature control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, put a quest counter on this enchantment, then if it has 4 or more, you may copy that ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. So some key notes, the creature has to trigger itself. So things that say when attacked, so something like Guide of Souls, I don't know if that would trigger itself.
whenever a creature you control attacking causes a trigger ability of that creature, it would only work with this when the guide itself is attacking, not when other creatures are attacking. But
yeah, it's so this can give you a lot of mileage. I don't think there's that many good on attack triggers we have right now in standard, which is going to be the prime spot for this card.
that's going to be the tough thing here is like if you're actually getting value out of the second part. Otherwise, like this kind of like
there's like FOMO, which wouldn't be
2
too
mana
bad.
enchantment that gives you an on-rate creature with it plus some extra is generally a pretty good formula. It's just finding ways to spend your firebending mana is going to be always an interesting question.
Yeah, we don't have
it's only in your
instant speed
combat.
fireball in the meta right now, unfortunately.
And then how many attack triggers on the creatures already do you have?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, if you're building around this, you're 4 counters. You're getting this turn 3 at worst.
Yeah, and it you know what? It's a good what's his name? Inchin?
Who heavens is one?
Yeah, who's the Mardu
Mardu
attack
guy.
triggers guy?
Oh wait, we have from Tarkir, the support, whatever it's called. You make just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, our mobilize cards.
Yeah, so this is really good
kicking
to
around
mobilize.
as well. So that's
Because I think
potentially very
they were
good.
playing Delaney just to get like the double triggers.
That's true.
So this gets you a lot more, and then just getting to copy it too.
Yeah, it's just gonna be
Yeah, so it'll,
spending your firebending mana is gonna be, I think, one of the harder
Yeah.
questions
you will have to
for
see.
all these cards.
And then the last one, because Black doesn't get one, Waterbender
You're
Ascension.
forgetting someone, aren't you?
Address me. Waterbender Ascension. 1 in a blue. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then, if it has 4 more quest counters on it, draw a card. Then Waterbend 4, target creature can't be blocked this turn. So this is, with a couple of extra steps, during Curiosity, if you really want to play it for 2 less and get a worse option. It's not that good.
Enduring Curiosity is already super broken in standard. Forget about this card playing Enduring Curiosity. Win games.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if
That's
you're
how I
playing
feel.
what it was like Spyglass Sire, we have a lot of 1/1 flyers in the
Mhm.
meta.
And that's what Enduring Curiosity decks typically are playing.
Of course, you don't really get the body, so this might be copy 5 and 6 if you really want it. But that's kind of where
I think you just start playing like more Kaitos at that point as
Yeah.
well. And then your
That's-
flyers become planeswalkers
yeah, that's
for
fair.
3.
High interest. Starts off the card we were talking about, Badger Mole Cub, or we might have talked about it. 1 in a green, 2/2. When this creature enters, Earthbend 1, and then whenever you type a creature for mana, add an additional green. So of course, there is a large amount of creatures that tap for mana. This gives you more of it. So this is like your Heart and Scales effect for mana. This also just makes your Earthbending cards tap for more. So this is 2 mana get get a 3/3 worth of stats, which is pretty good. And then of course you can do shenanigans with lands, as people like to do. course, this is probably the cheapest rate I think there is for Earthbending.
The card is quite good. I mean, effectively, right? It's 2 mana. You get 3 power already, right? Um, we have Llanowar Elves in standard, right? So you can drop that turn one, Badger Mold turn two, right? Animate either whichever way you want to do it. You can animate the land and then tap it for two, or you can just tap the Llanowar Elves for two,
Probably just the
and then next turn you have two uh, mana dorks that are tapping for double.
anyways. Wan Shi Tong, Librarian, X blue blue, Flash Flying Vigilance 1/1. When it enters, put X counters on him and draw half X cards rounded down. Whenever opponent searches their library, put a counter on Wan Shi Tong and draw a card. This is probably the best you're gonna get in Standard Pioneer for a Psychic Frog.
Well, people aren't really drawing. I don't think people are searching their library consistently in those formats.
That is true. We do have a couple land
This is-
destruction cards, which kind of this is.
It's true, like you can synergize there, and maybe your like Enduring Curiosity builds will play something like this where it is like a flash threat. I don't know if you're going to be fitting your like. Do we still have Field of Ruin or?
It was.
I'm sure there's some
in-
kind of equivalent to that still kicking around standard. I don't think they're as popular, but immediately just I'm thinking modern, probably legacy as well.
Yeah.
With the recent BNR, the Dimir decks and legacy are probably pivoting a lot more into tempo, with Entomb gone. So this is a card that might fit into those shells. It's definitely, I think, immediately in Dimir in modern. Not a deck that's doing anything really, but or maybe just some other blue shell in modern because you just flash this in when they crack their fetch, and you immediately draw a card. The 2 mana 2/2 with flying. This is like you said, more Psychic Frogs. This is probably Frog 5/6 at
yeah.
least for the Dimir decks.
We've seen that a lot this previous season.
You maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'm a broken record.
I'm very confident on this that this is like extra copies of that 2 mana tempo threat. And on the back end, when you're in those top deck wars or you're just trying to find anything, you're gonna pay into that X, draw some extra cards. It's larger to begin with. But I think most of the time in modern you play this for 2 mana and you're happy. Because if you draw that card, boom, nice, easy, you're already more than happy.
Yeah.
And you like the Dimir tempo decks in modern, their problem is always when am I holding up interaction versus tapping out for my threat. Especially like Frog on turn 2 is great. If you don't have force to back it up, or there's a Solitude coming your way, you're not really happy. You can untap with it, you're happy, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot easier to untap with, and it's going to be a really big thorn in your opponent's side when this comes in their end step after they can't interact, and then it's just staxing all of their lands.
Yeah, this also makes your opponent have to worry about fetching at the end
When
of
they
your turn.
fetch,
Yeah.
does my opponent have 2 blue mana?
So you might see your opponent kind of preemptively do their surveil land, especially if it's like their turn 1, they just only played a fetch land. So that means they kind of have to go.
You're going to be playing Shadow of Doubt games with people.
Yeah.
It's also going to be really funny when you play your second land that's a fetch land and you don't crack it until if your opponent's not cracking. You play a little bit of a cat and mouse game there.
And then this can be, especially in some spots, better than like a Bowmaster. Because the problem with Bowmaster, if your opponent doesn't draw cards.
Yeah, Bowmaster's not doing anything.
Yeah,
all of your opponents are searching their library except. I think everyone is.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone isn't.
Like the only deck I could like think of would be Charbelcher. Even they do it a little bit.
Yeah.
Usually, if they're doing that though, you're kind of scared for your life.
Yeah, Belcher's probably like the only one that doesn't do it enough, and then
Especially
like your
against-
Tron decks kind of, but like if they play Mycospawn or
Yeah.
they play,
Especially against like a Titan, this can stop one Titan from swinging into you. So if they do like 3 like land searching effects, this can kind of like get to that 6/6 power need to kind of stop a Titan from crashing into you for like a or just like trading into one.
Yeah. At that point, you're probably in a losing position as well, but
It's just it makes it harder for your opponent to get the win, especially if they can only get to that like kind of like 12 power double strike.
the majority of your more like the traditional mana bases in Modern are what, 6 fetchables and the rest fetch lands?
Yeah. Also, this just draws you a lot of cards too. So, as if your tight if your tight opponent is doing the loop, you can start drawing into your force negations, your subtleties. Hopefully, shut them down before it's too late. But we will see where that card goes. Next, we have Foggy Swamp Visions for 1 black. As an additional cost to cast a spell of Waterbend X. Exile X target creature cards from graveyards. It's yours and your opponent's. For each creature card exiled this way, create a token that's a copy of it. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice those tokens. So just to point out, this isn't the next end of your turn, where it's like some cards might say. So this is the next end step you hit, these go away, so you don't get them a turn to untap with them. This is just the turn you play it.
Yeah, effectively, you're just going to have these creatures for the moment, and then they're going to go away. I can imagine this could be good, and you're like Yogg or Soul Trader, like a combo deck, creature combo decks, where these kinds of black X combo decks that rely on creatures that you might have a bunch of random creatures into play that you can tap to Waterbend and then just kind of pull in at 3 mana. You could pull in
the whole loop.
Yeah, like it doesn't take much. You have a random Marionette token or a Young Wolf or a Mana Dork or whatever that your opponent's like doesn't want to invest in removing, right? It's kind of like these dopey little creatures that you often end up with. Tap them, bring back whatever pieces you're missing. This can even bring your whole combo into play.
Yeah.
Right? Also, a lot of these decks only need 2 or 3 creatures to combo you. So tap 2 creatures, 3 mana, bring 2 out.
Also, if you are able to cancel out the end step effect, you just gotta keep them.
Yeah.
So we're seeing like a 4 of the 1 blue spell.
Like Consign to Memory?
Yeah, Consign to Memory. You can just play like 4 of those. And if you're playing against Titan, that's 4, proactive or like reactive cards, depending on like what kind of comes out.
It is even, I think, if I'm not mistaken,
trigger.
It's 1 trigger.
Yeah.
Right, which is nice with your Consign, where you can just, I'm going to keep them all for 1 mana. Can't blink them because they're tokens.
Yeah.
But this also just lines up well into a lot of decks right now are using their graveyard, or like your blink decks are going to have creatures you want to steal.
Yeah, this can get you like a Riddler or Solitude.
Yeah, or Yoink of Flage that is going to come down like next turn or something. At the very least, you kind of 1 for 1, where maybe
I mean, if you're playing against Boros and they have a Ocelot Pride in the bin, and you gain like 1 life,
or a Najani, like a Najani, you at least get to keep the token that it enters with. Like you'll get some extra value here. If you put an Atraxa into play, you don't care about keeping it. You're going to draw 3 or 4 cards probably.
Also, just Pride, just getting the City's Blessing with this, and then you just
and then you copy those tokens. I believe you'd get to keep them.
Yeah, usually your opponent would probably just go because you just put like 5 creatures into play.
I can see you wanting to play like a couple of these. Maybe 2. I don't see you playing more than that. 1 or 2.
I have like 2
in main or sideboard.
I'm doing 2 of these, 3 on Earth now, just because this is
sure.
Yeah. But hopefully we see this card pop up everywhere forever.
These creatures are gone forever, so you can't play too many of these.
But if you're playing against like a graveyard hate sideboard, you can just start hitting your opponent's stuff, and then just getting value from that.
Yeah, I mean, Emperor of Bones has been like a good card.
Next we have Soka Bold Boomeranger for Izzet. 1/1. Whenever this enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Whenever you cast an artifact or a lesson spell, put a counter on Soka. So, at 2 mana, discard cards, draw cards is always a good effect for a couple of decks. Of course, we just saw Vivi get put down, hopefully. So this effect isn't as good as it would have been in Standard. But the more important part is getting that card advantage, putting stuff in your bin, and then this can just grow a lot with either your a lesson strategy or like an artifact strategy. We don't really see a big artifact deck in standard right now. We don't really have the Ornithopters or Mem Knights or just zero cost artifacts kind of bring this to the cost effective level immediately.
Yeah, I think that's probably gonna be the hard part with this card, where I don't really know what I don't know what artifact deck wants to be playing. Just kind of like a 2 mana beater that has this draw discard.
But I mean, with the lessons side, that might be more. We do see a couple of good lessons.
Yeah.
Strixhaven is on the horizon.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the lessons, we're probably going to have to circle back on them pretty heavily once we return to Strixhaven and get more support. But then again, there's still like original Strixhaven in like Pioneer and stuff like that. So maybe something starts to emerge there.
And then next we have Zuko Conflicted for a black and a red, 2/3. In your first main phase, choose one that hasn't been chosen and you lose 2 life. Draw a card, put a counter on him, add a red, exile him, turn him to the battlefield under an opponent's control. So, for this amount of mana, just getting a toolbox is pretty good. We haven't really seen a Death Shadow deck pop up because Solitude's kind of just taken like the forefront in Modern for quite a while now, just of how effective it is at dealing with the wide variety of threats we see in the Modern landscape. So this is a pretty good card into just if you're playing such a grindy card that if this survives the 4 turns, kind of go to your opponent isn't that bad.
I think you want to play it in a deck where like you definitely plan on it going to their opponent not being an issue, which means you want to be relatively fast, like Death Shadow, where you can put a lot of pressure very quickly. Or you have like Rakdos and Jund Sacrifice decks in Pioneer and stuff like that might very much like something like this. Extra mana to deploy more of your synergistic pieces, or just draw a card, just have this kind of value engine going on that contests earlier in the game, and you just turn it into a food, or you deadly dispute it away, or whatever before it goes to your opponent.
So it'll be interesting to see. Might not be good enough for Modern, but maybe the 2 other formats.
A very powerful card. You just have to, I think, build around it a little bit.
Next, we have medium interest, Tiger Seal. So 1 blue, 3/3 Vigilance. Any of your upkeep, tap this creature. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, untap this creature. 1 mana, 3/3 is a pretty good body. Of course, there is limitations to it. I've seen a couple of these pop up. I don't think they've ever really taken a huge step anywhere. But having another option too, the kind of puzzle of big beefy blue guys for cheap is always interesting, and there can be some interesting interaction with that untap effect for it.
Yeah, I don't know how we're consistently drawing an extra card to untap it, but if you can do that, I think it's pretty good, powerful tempo card. But I mean, if you can draw a second card each turn consistently without it being too burdensome on your like mana and actions, then you're probably also already in a good spot. So I'm not sure about this.
Next we have Appa, Steadfast Guardian for 2 white, flash flying 3/4. Whenever Appa enters, airbend any number of other target non-land permanents you control. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Of course, airbending is just 2 mana. So we still have the Overlords from Duskhorn in standard right now, so this is pretty good. You play the white one, which is I think 3 mana. You exile it
with 4 mana, make 2/2/1s of flying.
Okay. Still those are like 4 mana, and then playing this. You also exile a lot of your ETBs, and then whenever you cast a spell from exile, just make another human. So getting a lot of those cheap, or getting those expensive but cheap, kind of pitch cards in a sense, playing those down, exiling them with Appa, then playing them down for their essentially full side, would be pretty interesting. So
like it's a little bit on the expensive side, but like it having flash does mean it can like 2-for-1 surprisingly easy. You flash it in, block something when they weren't expecting you to. Or flash it in response to an interaction on one of your permanents. You just airbend it away and recast it later.
Especially if you have the like light cage from Edge of Eternity is just like a board wide capture effect. You can let the stuff go out, put that back in the hand, then recapture everything again, which is pretty interesting. Of course, that does get your white ally creature token, but it'll be interesting. I don't think there's a deck really suited for it right now, but this could kind of push some decks around maybe. Next, we have United Front, X white white sorcery. Create X 1/1 white ally creature tokens, then put a counter on each creature you control. This is a pretty good cost for this effect. 3 mana you're getting you're 2/2 of power. 4 mana you're getting 4. Each step you're getting just a little bit more value. Like playing this on turn 5, you're getting like 6/6 worth of stats. That's without anything else on the board. It's pretty cost effective. Of course, there's like any cheaping effects to kind of make this even like less. Can be kind of crazy with it. And then when you top deck this, it's also pretty good. Just doing this for like 5 or 7 would be kind of crazy. But just like good card, I feel, especially if you just like don't make any humans. If you have a good board already, this just buffs them.
Yeah, if you like going wide, what's a card for you?
Mm-hmm. Next, we have Elemental Teachings. So 4 and a green, instant lesson. Search your library for up to 4 land cards with different names and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So with cards like these, it's always important to note that you can get as many as you want. So you can go from get 2, get 3, or get 4 if you so choose. So sometimes forcing your opponent to choose 2 cards that automatically go into the graveyard can be pretty good. This of course is most likely a Titan card in the future. I don't think it's that good right now for the deck. It's pretty tight as it is already for new additions. Of course, we have been kind of warned that there might be a Titan ban in the future. This could be a tech for them if they kind of lose a key part. They need to shuffle the deck into a new idea.
I think it, and I mean, I'll leave this to the Titan players to figure out. But if you can create a gifts ungiven kind of storm pile where you get yourself into a position where it doesn't matter the pile your opponent makes, you're gonna just combo through it. If there are piles that Titan can do like that, then I think this is a very, very potent card for them to play. That's probably, in my opinion, going to be the determiner, what makes or breaks this card. They can figure out what those are. Because in the past with Storm and Gifts Ungiven, I think Gifts has a standard pile that while you have 3 extra mana after it resolves, it doesn't matter what your opponent chooses. You're going to cast all these spells, cast Gifts again, and keep looping.
Yeah.
So if this can set up their Aftermath Analyst loop or something like that, with like a given pile no matter what, it's going to be probably something that might push towards a ban.
Mm-hmm. We will have to see though. Next we have my Scornful Striker, 1 in a black. First strike 2/2. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. Just a good sideboard card, I feel. Especially into like a control matchup. Just getting a 2/2 first striker is pretty good. A lot of the creatures that your control player would kind of put down in front of this can't really deal with 2 first strike damage.
Typically, they're not playing many creatures in general, which is a good thing about
making,
this.
Their Preordains deal 2, their 20 other thousand scry, draw, card advantage cards slowly kill them.
Or just something to like slam down and staring down like a Storm opponent or something.
Yeah. Yeah, Storm players do not like
they're gonna want to cast more than 10 spells.
Yeah, they don't like when their Ral deals 2 damage to them every spell.
2.5 if you think about it.
If there's a Ral in play. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this card. We have Momo, Friendly Flyer, for 1 white flying 1/1. The first non-lemur creature spell with flying cast during each of your turns costs 1 less to cast. Whenever another creature you control with flying enters, Momo gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This is just a 1 mana make your next creature, your flying creature, cost 1 less, which is pretty good. Sadly, Nadu is banned from kind of the format that would want him most to be 2 mana. But we could maybe see this in a standard or modern pile. We do have a good a warp angel that lets you search for 1 drops, so this kind of works pretty well with it. Either with this being played turn 1 or just getting it fetched for turn 3 further.
I'm assuming this can make your Riddler 1 blue
Yeah.
warp.
Yeah, it makes your Riddler 1 blue.
Which is a pretty good rate for what you're trying to do. It means you can ephemerate on turn 2, right? Momo, Riddler, ephemerate. You got a Riddler on turn 2 and drew 2 cards. Also could just be good to support like a blue-white flyers deck for standard, right? Play a bunch of your flyers. This lets you cast more quickly, and then you play your Enduring Curiosity, which we are talking so much about. With kind of all the red cards that have been banned, Dimir looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's white instead of black.
We will have to see.
Or all 3.
Yeah, and standard kind of support that right now. We have fetch lands. Or shock lands.
We have shock lands. We're supposed to get the other cycle soon enough, so maybe in the future we'll have the better mana bases for that.
Mm-hmm. Next we have a Raven Eagle, 2 and a black, flying 2/3. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, exile up to 1 target creature from a graveyard. Creature card is exiled this way. Create a clue token. If you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So we saw Trespasser from Innistrad pop up a little bit here and there. This kind of hits the same spot, getting that 2/3 body. It's getting a chunky body that hits the graveyard slowly and gets you card advantage. Is always nice.
As a big Trespasser player, I would say Trespasser is probably still better. That being said, it's not in standard anymore. And this is quite a good card to deploy there. And I hate to say it, flying, drawing cards, Enduring Curiosity.
When will it end?
Curves into it.
When will it end?
We just talked about a card that reduces your flyers.
It's also a Bird Assassin.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But you could play this on turn 2 with your Momo.
Cool.
Which is actually pretty crazy.
Yeah. Next we have Redirected Lightning for 1 red, which is also an instant lesson. Additional cast cost a spell, pay 5 life or pay 2. Change the target of a target spell or ability with a single target.
I think it's competing with Malfunction.
Yeah. Ill-Timed Malfunction?
Yeah, Ill-Timed Malfunction.
Of course.
Which is 2 mana.
Yeah.
This is 3 or 1 and 5 life.
So
Malfunction can destroy an artifact.
That is true. I mean, it's just usually you're gonna pay 5 life for this.
Yeah, you were pulling on this when you just need the mana efficiency, and the life isn't as big of a deal.
Yeah, so say if you're like playing a burn deck and your opponent tries to like counter something big that you're trying to finish them off with, you can just kind of immediately shut it off. This also targets abilities, which can be nice sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, just like Ill-Timed Malfunction, your Uno reverse the Belcher player. Or some kind of effect like that.
And this does get around spell snare, which can be kind of important sometimes.
That's true.
Spells are seeing a lot of uptick right now because there's so many good 2-drops to play that usually, like going to the blinders, you're gonna see a 2-drop.
Yeah, this is just just another like good option, a good tool to have in that sideboard. You need it to be 1 mana, right? It's going to be really powerful there.
Next we have Azau, the Moonslayer, 1 red, 2/2 menace, non-basic lands enter tapped, put a 7 mana, put a conquer counter on Zao. As long as Zao has a conquer counter on him, non-basic lands are mountains. This is I think we've seen this effect before on Thalia, where
yes, there's a 3 mana Thalia.
Yeah,
that makes non-basic lands enter tapped. It's 2 mana.
So I think even in standard right now, majority of lands we're seeing being played right now are non-basic.
So a lot of good lands, right? And if you're not playing mono colored, you're going to be playing as many non-basic lands as you can realistically. This could be a very oppressive card for those mono red aggro decks. Put your opponent who's already on the back foot effectively a turn behind, It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a lot of pain for your opponents.
Yeah.
It also gives you a mana sink for if you can get firebending into your deck,
Yeah.
right? You can turn this guy into a Magus of the Moon. You can generate enough firebending mana.
Which is a little rush because it's 7 mana. But
That being said, maybe you play the red land from this cycle to
yeah.
help with that. In your mono red deck, it's always untapped once you have this guy out. So maybe play it before you play this guy. You can go mountain that land this guy. Um,
But I mean, it's
that
just
7 mana might not be as much as you think if you're able to put a couple extra cards with him.
yeah. But I mean, red does enjoy hate bearers most of the
I
time.
think it's already good without
Yeah.
blood mooning your opponent, but if you can blood moon your opponent, it might be GG's.
Yeah. Next, we have Unlucky Cabbage Merchant. 1 and a green. 2/2. When this creature enters, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food token, you may search your library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you search your library this way, put this creature on the bottom of its owner's library, then shuffle. Some keynotes. If I'm not mistaken, you can stack this a couple of times and then get your basics.
Yeah, he's not. Shuffling him away isn't like a cost or
Yeah.
anything. Um, and it doesn't specify like, oh, if you shuffle him away, then you can get your land. So you could crack multiple foods, get multiple lands into play. This is a weird card.
It is. I mean, I think the most obvious spot for would be a Samwise deck. Just going like Goose turn 1, this turn 2, sacking the
Yeah, if you have
food for
extra
it.
ways to sack food rather than paying two, I think it starts getting pretty valuable. It's a weird downside that he gets shuffled away. But you can also, like, I mean, you can do silly things like jump with him and then just shuffle him
Yeah.
away before he dies, maybe.
It's just like having a Cauldron Familiar kicking around when this card comes down can be kind of crazy. Getting like 3 sacks from this usually means you're no longer have to worry about top decking a basic anymore. That's just 3 mana to kind of untap, go for a chord setup, and then try to win with your Samwise deck.
Yeah, and these like creature combo decks or like your sacrifice decks, like Pioneer tends to have more. Having that extra mana can just let you deploy, your sack outlet plus your payoff or something at the same time. Generally, these kind of creature combo or sacrifice decks are most held back by how much mana they can deploy. So this could be a way of getting that extra mana going.
Yeah, there's also like Asmo line. This isn't one or more. This is a food.
Yep.
So whenever you sacrifice 2 foods with Asmo, that's 2 lands you're getting.
Yeah, and you could also like trigger this guy and then just sacrifice him for extra value rather than shuffle him away. He's a very, very funky, very technical card, I feel like, in the lines you're going to have with him.
He's one of those cards where if they give us like one good, make a bunch of food and sack it, he just goes nuts with it. And if you're playing like a Golgari deck, you put like 6 basics in, and you can probably get him turn 3 all out on the field. And then you just, kind of just outvalue your opponent that way.
Yeah, suddenly having an extra like 2 or 3 lands can go a long, long way, especially if you're already planning on sacrificing some of these food.
Next, we have for low interest, Phoenix Fleet Airship, 2 black, flying vehicle, 4/4, with crew 1. Beginning your end step, if you've sacrificed a permanent this turn, create a token that's a copy of this vehicle. And if you have 8 or more, these are just artifact creatures. Important to note, they don't get haste with that. So 4 mana. If you can play this turn 4 with seconds, you get 2. 2 becomes 4. 4 becomes 8, etc., etc. Of course, this is on your end step, so you're kind of going to your opponent's turn with your 8 airships. So if they have some huge artifacts board wipe, you've spent 4 turns doing this, and then you're kind of gone.
It is quite large of a vehicle for crew 1, but that being said, like it's an on-rate body otherwise, so it's got some unique things going on. But it's not the most powerful thing.
Next, we have a Boiling Rock Rioter for 2 and a black, 3/3, firebending 1. Tap an untapped ally you control, exile target card from a graveyard. Whenever this creature attacks, you may cast an ally spell from among cards you own exiled with this creature. So the small chance your opponent has an ally card. This is pretty good. Otherwise, this is just some instant speed graveyard hate, which is never bad to have. And
If
this
you can
lets
play enough allies, like you don't have to be all in on allied tribal. I think for this to be decent, at least. Um, Sometimes it just kind of effectively draws you an extra card by tapping an ally, even himself.
yeah, it's it's interesting. I don't think we have that enough ally support overall for this to be like earth shattering, especially
Probably
at 3 mana.
same thing with Earth and Ally here.
I will say though, we do have this is probably our first 1 mana 5/2. You have Guild Pact out. This might see play in that deck just because if you do have the Guild Pact, or like turn 2 you have your 5 mana. This is just some
Yeah,
1 mana 5/2. This is
I
probably
think
the
you'd have
best.
to have it more consistently for that to come up, but that is interesting to point out.
Yeah, I mean they do play they play like Earthen Brawler or Nicodle Brawler.
Yeah, but like that's based on your lands, which you can get kind of already if you don't have your guild pact.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you have to have the guild pact, which is already kind of
hmm
a big ask.
But I mean, if you top deck really good, this is pretty good for you. Pretty on par rate. Next we have Firebending Student 1 in a red, prowess 1/2. Has Firebending X, where X is the creature's power. I will say for prowess, you're playing a lot of instants. Uh, and the only problem is you're really gonna run out of instants pretty fast. So getting that instant speed mana might just fizzle.
Yeah, but like we don't have mana burn, and we have Zalto turning into a blood moon or something if you want to instead. Um,
Yeah, and
You also might be able to find, I don't know any off the top of my head, maybe other creatures with mana sync like activated abilities now or in the future.
yeah, there's the March of Reckless Joy, I think is instant.
Right, yeah, you could do that. Not in standard anymore, but yeah, you could do
Yeah.
March of Reckless Joy, find extra cards, maybe to also cast with your firebending mana.
And if you have that double attack trigger, you march for the first amount.
Yeah,
Uh,
you trigger your prowess, you attack, get a bunch of mana, trigger your prowess more. Especially with like a slick shot beside this, maybe
yeah.
you can suddenly maybe have a lot of damage coming your opponent's way.
And if you do have like another like extra combat ability, this can get big enough or just makes enough mana to untap it with the extra combat, rinse repeat. There is like a small chance we see like a combo with this. That is a lot of mana though you have to get for it, but it's a potential. And every loop it does get bigger sometimes. It'll be interesting to see though. It is 2 mana without haste, which is probably the most important part for our prowess creatures.
Yeah, but I mean, with the recent bans, the hasty creatures are going bye bye, maybe.
Yeah. Next, we have Obsessive Pursuit, 1 in a black. Once enchantment enters, and as the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and you create a clue token. Whenever you attack, put X 1/1 counters on target attacking creature, where X is the number of permanents you've sacrificed this turn. If X is 3 or greater, that creature gains lifelink until end of turn. So even like on playing this turn too, if you have a drop, like a 1 drop, if you just fetch with it, that's just 1 counter, which is a pretty good rate. Just getting a clue token, getting a counter, swinging in, and then if you're playing like an aristocrat deck effect, getting those 3 sacks is a walk in the park, especially with the clue tokens it's spewing out. We have a card from Edge of Eternities where you sacrifice a creature or artifact, try one.
Right.
So turn 3, you play that out, get a fetch land, sack the 2 clues, put 3 counters on like your 1 drop, swinging in for like 5 or something, and that's lifelink. So now you're kind of gaining a lot of life. So those are aristocrat decks that kind of play a lot of weenies that can't swing in because the creatures get too good of a trade with it. This just makes your grave crawlers, bloodghasts, your 1/1 tokens that you made forever ago. They kind of forgot about. Now they're 5/5s or 4/4s, and now they're swinging with lifelink for either good trades or you're just getting more life out of it.
Yeah, it's not quite as like mana efficient or like as good on the back end, but like a clue every turn, somewhat reminiscent of Cameo, where those extra clues can get that extra edge in card advantage. I'm so very on the fence with a card like this. I think it's like close to being a really good value engine in black, but
Here's a blood token.
that'd be terrible. That'd be so bad. I think we are just continually edged on like good grindy black cards.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I mean, maybe my hopes are high.
maybe. Next we have for Orzhov a 1/1. Or you sacrifice another permanent, put a counter on this creature. When this creature dies, you may exile it. When you do, return to your creature card's mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So like even getting like 4 counters on this, you can get something pretty big. Oculus is of course 3 mana, so you can get that out pretty easily.
I don't think you necessarily even need it to be all that big for this to be good.
Yeah. Of course, the side part is you can't loop this with another Sandbender because it does exile itself.
Yeah. But I think like if you put 2 counters on this in the decks that play this kind of card, you're getting back most of your things.
Yeah.
Because you're already in decks that are playing probably Unearth or something like that, so kind of 3 or less is I think more than reasonable.
So we shall see. Cards with potential. We have no idea where these guys are going, but they might be going somewhere. Beifong's Bounty Hunters, 2 black and a green for 4/4. Whenever a non-land creature you control dies, Earthbend X, where X is that creature's power. If you're looking to do land loops, this might be kind of best effect. If you have any lands that make creatures on ETB, they can loop with that really crazily because it is non-land, not non-token non-land, which is a pretty interesting thing to point out. So any tokens you make trigger this.
Let's just make your like big beaters in green more resilient, where at least your power and toughness doesn't really go away effectively.
Yeah. There's Kalani Gardens make a 0/2. Of course, 0 power, so never mind on that part. There's probably some land that makes a 1/1 somewhere. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Of course, there's Bloodghast. Whenever you kill Bloodghast, you Earthbend, sack the land, comes back, Bloodghast comes back, etc., etc. And then we have next Earth King's Lieutenant. If allies do get into a somewhat decent spot, this is probably a pretty good card for the deck.
Yeah, is it Thalia's Lieutenant does
Yeah,
this effect, but this kid does have trample.
yeah, which is
better.
truly the most important part.
Do need lots of good allies for that, but
yeah, we have some here and there. Next we have Great Divide Guide. So 1 and a green, each land and ally control has add 1 mana of any color. So if you're looking for that 5-color ally deck, this probably fills a lot of your gaps.
or honestly, this doesn't even have to go in an ally deck. It's a 2 mana, 2/3 mana dork that taps for any color, which is we've seen stuff like that get played in Pioneer and Standard, and then it mana fixes all of your, regardless of what they are. So this is just good by itself with no other allies, but might be good if you're trying to build that ally deck as well.
Next we have Secret Tunnel. This land can't be blocked if you do Earthbend it or get it animated in some other way. And then taps for colorless, specifically like a Eldrazi colors. I don't know what it's called. And then 4
Just generic. You mean that?
Diamond.
Yeah, it would be colorless. I think at times people called it like Wingding or something, but it's just a colorless.
And then 4 and a tap, so a 5 mana total. 2 target creatures control that share a creature type can't be blocked this turn. So if you are playing an Earthbending deck or like a tribal deck, this can give you that unblockable you might need for kind of finish it out.
Yeah, if you're playing like a monocolored.
Yeah, like goblins.
Yeah, if you're playing, well, they're not usually monocolored, but if you're playing a monocolored tribal deck that has like reasonably large creatures, probably more like your humans decks, like white humans, but this can just sneak through a lot of damage, especially when you have like Adelines and stuff like this that can get really, really big.
Next we have Spirit Water Revival. So 1 blue, additional casting cost Additional cost to cast the spell. You may waterbend 6. Draw 2 cards. If the spell's additional cast was paid, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library. Draw 7 cards, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Then you exile this. 3 mana, draw 2 isn't the best rate. It's not the worst, but if you have...
It's divination.
Yeah. If you do have that 6 creatures and/or artifacts, this does put everything back into your deck, gives you 7 new cards, and then the rare chance you no longer have to worry about your hand size, which can be nice. I think this might see play like an affinity deck. We do see them play like Thoughtcast, Thought Monitors. Of course, those are 1 mana compared to the 3, but those only draw you 2, where this draws you 7. Of course, you could shuffle away an important card like Kappa, so that might be some bad interaction. This does put your graveyard back into your deck, though. So
it does use your like munitions or 1/1 tokens from Pinnacle Emissary or something like that.
Yeah, we have seen munitions do a lot of work. It just there's the payoff, kind of get it to do what you want it to do. Because there's just no good artifact sack effect right now for the deck.
Though I think some of the affinity players are playing it as like 5 and 6 of your Pinnacle Emissary and stuff like that. Of you just want to get those artifacts in play, and more payoffs for them could be make that better.
Like Claws of Gix or Explosions. So finding more ways to use your munitions is always a good idea in those decks. Outside of that, though, there's probably not that many decks that can really support that Waterbend 6.
Yeah, it's just very, very prohibitive on cost.
And I mean, Affinity dumps their whole hand, plays the Thoughtcast, hoping to hit more. You're just playing like this is like copied like 9 or 10 maybe.
It's a little too slow.
But I mean, if you're untapping with 6 artifacts and they're not really able to swing in, you're more than happy to tap them down, get that new hand, looking for that Kappa to kind of shut the game out. And then we next have Joe D, one of many, 1 in a black, one of the few creatures with a name that isn't legendary actually, which is important for its ability. It's a 2/2. Black taps, Surveil 1. Create a token that's a copy of this creature, and sacrifice an artifact or creature. Activate only as a sorcery. Please God, let this be an instant. On right, if this just sits around, it can just surveil a bunch. If you get this under like an Agatha's, you can start making copies of other creatures pretty nastily.
Yeah, they did make the interesting decision to ban Vivi and not Cauldron. So this can copy any creature, right? Whatever gains its ability through Cauldron. At like the very least, this is 1 mana and tap, Surveil 1, and trigger your death triggers, right?
And then if you have Bloodghast, Gravecrawlers, you're making tokens. Slowly, you're making the bad tokens and 2/2s. They can start making more of these.
Keep your 2/2, 1 of many. Sacrifice whatever is going to come back anyway.
And eventually you'll have.
You can activate it twice in a turn or something.
Of course, it is instant, so you can't do too many. Sorcery. You can't do too many spells.
Can't get too crazy. Yeah, the reason it's sorcery is because you just have like.
Your blockers would be amazing.
Yeah, your blocking would be maybe a little bit too annoying.
Which, let me cook, I say.
Yeah, God forbid attacking the aristocrat player is any more annoying.
No. There's some pretty fun combos with it, because you can get like Ginger Brute or something like that, where you just need to put a counter on it for like Agatha's.
Yeah.
And you can get like Academy Manufacturer out, because it's a token food.
That's true.
So it's a fun card. It's just...
I'm also realizing if that was an instant, killing this creature would be almost impossible.
Yeah, you have to kill it a turn it's played.
Yeah, you have to kill it right away or when they tap out, because they're just going to create a copy of it and sack the original. So I think it's, in this case, for the best that they had some restraint.
Next we have...
Like a fucking horse.
Get out.
I'm gonna bite your fingers.
Get out of here. I don't want your carrot.
Put your carrot away.
Next we have South Pole of Voyager. 1 in a white. whenever this creature or another ally you control enters, you gain 1 life. This is the second time this ability has resolved this turn. Draw a card. So always important to note, this is on either turns. So if you somehow get 2 allies on your opponent's turn, you get another card.
Yeah, if you're playing that allied tribal deck, this card's going to go really, really crazy. Right? If you double spell allies with this card, immediately you draw a card. In your later turns, same thing. There's a few ways to make token allies. You do that, draws a card. Can generate a lot of value if most of your spells are allies.
And then next we have Accumulate Wisdom, a 1 and a blue, instant lesson. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. For each of those cards into your hand, you can put each of those cards into your hand instead if you have 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard.
Impulse has been a card that these play, or cards like it. They're constantly kind of doing impulses with upside. This looks at one fewer card than Impulse did.
That's like an instant iteration.
Sorry?
Instant iteration, expressive iteration.
Yeah, like if you can, so like on the worst side, it's kind of a little bit below rate, which is fine. Especially for your counterspell like flash deck, stuff like this. If you can get those lessons in the graveyard, however, it is incredibly powerful. It is a 2-mana Ancestral Recall, which is nothing to be scoff at. That's well above rate. It's very, very powerful. Lots of interesting lessons in this set. We have some from the past original Strixhaven, which wasn't the most powerful set for the most part, but is still kicking around in your Pioneer and older formats. And then again, keep this in mind when we get around to Strixhaven in a few months, because we're going to have lots more lessons, and unlike this set, we'll have Learn as well. If they don't do that, that would be kind of crazy, I think.
I don't think we're at Strixhaven. I think we're in the plane. So it might not be school and stuff. Maybe we're just...
if they don't have Learn and Lesson, I would be...
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'd be willing to put money that they'll have Learn and Lesson in there.
But you know what we will have soon? Lorwyn, baby.
Lorwyn's got some heaters.
Oh yeah, we got Bitter Blossom 2.0. So many more. And next we have Tyler's Pickups, if you want to take it away.
I mean, I'm specking on Wisdom a little bit. I think it would be a really cool card if you can get it to work. My hopes are ultimately pretty low because lesson cards haven't been like the greatest, but I don't think it takes that many lesson cards in your deck for this to be viable, especially if you're turning through cards quickly or filling your graveyard quickly. And then I don't know actually how to say any of these names, but our big old owl librarian is just a very powerful card. Probably, I'm gonna say the most powerful card in the set. I think this is going to be immediately a modern contender for a staple. Plenty of decks that can fit this in. None of them are particularly like crazy right now, but this card's just kind of crazy in those blue tempo decks.
Modern blue,
mid-range.
Mono blue Eldrazi.
That's interesting. Oh, that's super interesting.
Because they're not doing that much fetching, but they're usually...
Yeah, Bluetron has actually looked pretty solid at times, like off and on.
Yeah.
That's something I haven't really thought about with this card. Gives you pretty big mana sink for those decks, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, even if you can't dump into the X, I think this card is really good in those fetch land formats.
Mm-hmm. Next we have my pickups. As we can guess by how I talked about each card, these are all going into Soul Trader in some capacity. I enjoy testing new cards. They've all felt pretty good. Foggy Swamp is just bring back, Soul Trader, a couple of Aristocrat effects, and just dump your triggers on them until they die. Pleasant Pursuit, I have Gravecrawler, I have Bloodghasts. I'm going to sack them 100 times. I'm going to have like a 1/1 servo or a Stitcher Supplier that's going to throw 10 damage at you out of nowhere. Also, I can just stop mid combo, take a breath, put counters on my Soul Trader, swing 13 lifelink, go back to the combo, kill you that way. And then Joe D is just it's more sack effects, it's more surveilling for those unearths, for the foggies, getting blood gas, timeline colors.
This with Cauldron just seems kind of obnoxious. So I think it'll be fun to see what people can cook up there.
Also with like Tovolar, the Planeswalker, just getting this
It's
activated
true.
instantly. Having like a Pitiless Plunderer, you can see the treasure. It's like the best way to do it, or getting
There are definitely ways to, I'm sure, loop with this,
yeah.
but even just as like a powerful value thing that makes Cauldron better in a deck that sometimes doesn't have many activated abilities.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this card goes, but that is the end of everything for our Avatar set review. Oh, I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, we'll have a pre-release this upcoming weekend, so hopefully we get it out in time for you guys to get excited for our pre-release. And if you want any of these cards, come on down to Mecca Games into our store or to our online store and pick them up for yourselves. Have a nice day. Say goodbye.